Chapter 2 Early Lessons. One day when Fred was 8, his school let out early and the family driver could not pick Fred up. He started to walk home by himself. Soon Fred noticed a group of boys following him. They made him nervous and he walked faster. Then they began calling out insults. "Hey, Fat Freddy," they yelled. "We're going to get you." Frightened Fred ran to the house of a neighbor. She let him come inside and stay until the boys left. When Fred's parents found out what happened, they told Fred not to worry about it. If he acted like he didn't care what the boys said, they'd leave him alone. The problem was, Fred did care. His feelings were hurt. He didn't understand why those boys were so mean. There was one person Fred knew he could always count on, though. Ding Dong. That was his grandfather. The nickname came from a nursery rhyme that his grandfather sang to him. Ding Dong always knew how to make Fred feel good, and Fred loved spending time at his grandparents' farm on the weekends. At home, he often had to sit inside quietly. His mother's tidy home was not to be messed up. But at the farm, there was plenty of room to run around and explore. One thing Fred wanted to do was climb the stone walls that wound all over the farm. He knew his mother wouldn't let him, though. The walls were old and falling to pieces. He might hurt himself. Sure enough, when he asked her for permission one day, the answer was no. Then his grandfather spoke up. "Let the boy climb the stone walls," he said. "He has to learn to do things for himself." Fred was thrilled that his grandfather trusted him. He spent the next couple of hours climbing the walls. At the end of the day, Ding Dong told Fred, "Freddy, you made the day special just by being yourself." For a boy who did not have much self-confidence, it was an important thing to hear. Fred never forgot those words. George Allen continued to be a big part of Fred's life and sharing many of his interests with him. George taught Fred about photography, and Fred discovered he liked to take pictures, especially ones with people in them. George also introduced Fred to jazz. Fred loved how the music sounded. It was full of surprises. Another of George's passions was flying. In the 1940s, George helped train a group of African American pilots who attended Tuskegee Institute in Alabama. Tuskegee Airmen, as they became known, were an important part of the American forces during World War II. When Fred reached high school, George taught him to fly a small plane. George's enthusiasm rubbed off on Fred. The best teacher in the world is somebody who loves what he or she does and just loves it in front of you, Fred used to say. For a while, Fred wanted to be a pilot too. In high school, Fred still felt like he was chubby and weak, so he saved up $19 and sent away for a mail-order exercise program. Then he did all the workouts, but they didn't work. Fred realized he was never going to look like a bodybuilder. He was just going to have to be himself. Fred found the things he was good at and concentrated on them. He joined the French club and the photography club. He edited the yearbook and wrote for the school newspaper. He was elected president of the student council. He had finally found his place.